In this video, we're going to talk about the elements of an effective game-based learning activity and how to structure a learning activity using games. So the first thing you'll need to do is have very specific directions around gameplay. The more specific directions you have about what should be done during gameplay, the better the learning outcome. So set goals for players to attempt while playing. Try and direct them to the things that you want them to try within the game. And of course, try these yourself to help set a time frame and expectations around their student evidence. Make sure gameplay models the learning objective. Look at the standards or grade level expectations to find some I can statements, some things that they should be able to do by the end of your unit or the end of this lesson, and really look at what the learning objective is going to be before picking a game and having them practice in the game. Many games that I've seen don't really model the learning objective. It's a point and click game or drag things around on the screen game, and the actual gameplay has nothing to do, unless you're teaching mouse skills, has nothing to do with the learning objective. So find ways to incorporate these class objectives into the gameplay, or focus the player in on gameplay elements that do require these skills. So some examples of that would be using an online MMORPG or a role-play game where it has some sort of marketplace within the game to teach supply and demand. So you're pointing them towards an auction house or something within the game where they can try and model some supply and demand. Another example might be pointing them to use Angry Birds and what trajectory that they need for different things to happen. So really finding a way to incorporate those objectives into what they will be doing during the gameplay. And then look for ways to take the gameplay experience and have students self-assess on that academic objective. Don't hide the objective from them and try and trick them into learning about something. Tell them right up front, by the time you're done playing this game the way we're talking about playing it, you should be able to meet this objective or do this I can statement or class objective statement. Also, the activity should use some game mechanics or game design principles. Here's some resources here on what game mechanics you might employ. And at this point, I want to talk about non-digital games, because you can use game mechanics or principles of game design in a way that structures activities in your classroom to have the look and feel of games and use all of those same principles as a game for your learning objectives, but it doesn't have to be a video game. It doesn't have to be a digital game. It can be something just an out-of-the-box board game, perhaps, where you're using this, or something you create yourself for your students. So now I'd like to talk about another element of a good game-based learning activity, which is the intrinsic reward structure. And this comes from an article from the Ivy Business Journal. The article is called "The 4 Intrinsic Rewards That Drive Employee Engagement." A sense of meaningfulness, meaning that they can care about what they're doing. They have this sense of passion around it. They see this exciting vision of the whole thing, and that they understand what the whole task is going to look like. They understand that it's not just about this one little piece, that they understand how that fits into the rest of the course, into the rest of the unit, that this is meaningful. And then a sense of choice, having some trust so that they can have confidence that they can self-assess and they can self-manage, that there's no fear of punishment for mistakes, and still going back to that clear purpose or those clear objectives, and that they have choice around how they meet those objectives. A sense of competence, so having a sense that what they have, the knowledge they come in with, is adequate to tackle this challenge or this activity that you're creating for them. Also, that they will get credit for the skills that they have mastered during this activity. Then a sense of progress, some way that they can see the different milestones of their achievements, some way that they can measure their own improvement. So student evidence should reflect the learning objective. So after they're done playing the game, you should require some sort of artifact from the student that demonstrates their competency with that objective. Something that they turn in that says, okay, I went and I played this game, or I used this simulation, and here is my proof that I was able to accomplish those objectives and those goals you set forth for me. And like I said before, make that learning objective transparent before gameplay. They're not just playing the game to play the game, they're playing the game to be able to do something. There's a skill that they're trying to master, and you're putting that skill right up front. And if necessary, create some kind of rubric to show how evidence will be assessed. So to review, our elements of an effective game-based learning activity are specific directions, gameplay that models the learning objective, that your activity uses game mechanics or game design principles, has some sort of intrinsic reward structure, and that the student evidence reflects the learning objective.